Welcome to the Knitting Traditions podcast. My name is Inga and this is the little corner of the internet where I talk about my knitting. It is the end of August and today is a regular podcast, but it is also a special podcast because I am releasing my first ever sweater garment. So that is the reason for me recording, even though I'm a little bit congested, as you may hear, so I hope you don't mind. But the Freyr Sweater is officially released on Ravelry, and I wanted to show you my samples before I get into the regular podcast, so you can skip ahead if you're not interested, but I'm very proud of what I have achieved, so I wanted to share with you and also to give you a discount code if you're interested. So let's get settled in and I can show you my samples and talk about the pattern. So the Freyr Sweater is a top-down raglan construction garment that can use almost any thickness of yarn. As long as you get gauged, which is 21 stitches per 10 centimeters or 4 inches. In my samples, I have held 2 lace weight yarns together for these 2 samples. This is my very wrinkly spring sample. I use these, I think, once a week on average, so they are well used, and I wanted to give an honest review. So I didn't iron it or do anything, so this has been folded up. This is probably the sample that I have which is the most stiff fabric or tight gauge, because I used Filcolana Saga for this held double, and it blooms quite a bit to fill out, so it's not that loose and drapey of a garment as per se my summer sample. I knit size 3 for this one. It gives me around, I think, 5 centimeters of positive ease depending on which undergarment I'm wearing. And the pattern comes with both a tapered version and a boxy version, and then it comes with 2 different cuffs, 3 different necklines, and a short sleeve version is basically you can do all the different mods, just end the sleeves sooner for the summer version. I have used this a ton. This is the crew neck tapered version. It has cables running down the raglan, and those are continued down the sides of the body. And depending on which size you knit, there will be a different amount of cables running down the side. This is my initial sample, so there has been a slight modification to how the underarm is looking. But there's also a cable that will run, 1 or more cables that will run down the underarm as well. So this is sort of my spring version because of the color mostly. And then my second sample was my autumn version. And I will put this one on so you can see, because I'm feeling very autumnal today. This one I used Mojo Supreme Tweed. It's all on, going to be in the pattern and on the Ravelry page. I held it double again, a lace weight yarn. This sample is size 4, which gives me more positive ease. I think around 16 centimeters or more for my bust. And this is the straight body, so the boxy version, and the mock neck. And if you double the length of the mock neck, that gives you the turtleneck. What I was wearing here is the Miles shirt jacket by Ozetta, so don't forget to say. Now I can show you a bit better, maybe. So, for the boxy version, it is quite a bit more roomy. This design is not intended to have fitted sleeves. It's supposed to have quite a bit of room because I like it that way, and I often find a lot of designs have too tight arms for me. So if you want to knit this and you don't like a lot of space in the arms, I recommend looking at the pattern sizing to see how much of a circumference there actually is on the sleeves. And if you don't want that much, do the decreases more rapidly. That's a modification you could do. I have straight cuffs on these, so that means I don't go down in a needle size. I just keep knitting and ribbing once I get to that point. The size 4 has 2 cables running down the underarm. They are very subtle cables. And in the pattern I include video tutorials for how to do the cabling without a cable needle, which makes it all go by a lot quicker. Especially because there is cables all the way around the hem. And as you can see here on the underarm, they go down from the raglan and continue into the hem. So this was my fall sample. My summer sample, I used a single strand of fingering weight. This is a hand-dyed yarn, and this is the size 3 with the crew neck, which is what I prefer for a summer garment. And then the boxy body, so no decreases on the side. And then the sleeves are shorter. And by knitting it with a single strand of fingering weight, it is a lot more loose of a gauge than the other 2 samples, and it has a lot more drape. There's also silk in this base, which also gives it a lot of drape. And you can see that the cables are a lot looser looking compared to the woolly samples. The decreases in the pattern are also possible to do without a cable needle, knitting it into the cables. There's tutorials for that as well. And I'm currently working on my winter sample. And now this is going to be the most dense fabric of them all. So normally a 21 stitch gauge is for a DK weight yarn. I'm using a sport plus a silk mohair, so this is thicker than what a DK yarn would be. So knitting it up at a 21 stitch gauge, it is quite a thick fabric, but that is what I want for a winter sample. I'm doing the turtleneck option for this one, so it can either be worn up or down. If I decide that I want to wear it down, I'll probably do with the darning needle and just tuck it down a little bit so it stays in place. Because often with turtlenecks they do ride up a little bit, and I don't like that double look, so I always do that to my turtlenecks if I decide I want to wear them double folded like this, or folded. And with the mohair, of course, the cables are not as pristine looking, but they are still there. It is still a bit of interest, and it makes for a fun knit to break up the stockinette a bit. You can see it. This is how it looks on the hem. We had a big tester group for this one, and I think almost everyone used a different yarn. So I think most of the testers, or at least a lot of them, have linked to the pattern. So once it's live on Ravelry, you can find the testers' projects on there and see their comments and what yarns they used. I think I will also try to have a list of examples of several yarns that have been used for this pattern, because that's the idea, that you can use something that you have in stash and make it work for this garment and have it be either a summer or winter, fall or spring versatile pattern. And some of the testers have already made more than one, which made me really happy. That's a good testament that they like it. And the pattern has also been professionally graded and tech edited, so I hope that it will be well received. And if I just break even with the costs, I'm very happy. Even if you don't want to knit this, just if you were to click on the link in the description box below or look at the Ravelry page, that would help it broaden its reach. So hopefully it will be knit by some knitters. I'm already toying with the idea of even more samples, but I'm currently pregnant and I'm starting to get over my aversion to tactile yarns. That was an issue in my first trimester. So I'm starting to feel like I can get back to this one now, so I can have it ready for winter. This is also size 4 and a boxy version because I'm hoping it can fit over my 3rd trimester belly by that point. So yeah, that is my samples. If you want a discount code, I can have the discount code live on Ravelry for the first week. So it's going live on the 30th of August. So let's say it is valid until the 7th of September. That is approximately a week. And the code is gonna be, what should it be? I'm such a bad podcaster, is not even prepared for this. Freyr Sweater 30. I'll put it on the screen here and also put it in the description box below, close to where the link to the pattern is. And if you use that, you'll get 30% off for the first week. Even if you just want to get it and save it for later, if you want to knit it the summer version for next year, or whichever. So yeah, if you have any questions, don't be afraid to reach out. I think I've said the most important steps, but yeah, 21 stitch gauge. You can use anything from lace held double to a DK, even a slightly thicker, but just keep in mind that the thicker the yarn, the denser the gauge. So whether you want a warmer, thick garment or a more loose, drapey summer garment, that is something you can play with. Most people used 4mm needles to get gauge. Some had to go down, some had to go up. So that it's essential to do a swatch to find out what works for the yarn that you want to use. For the summer version, a lot of people went down a needle size for the binding of the neckline to make it stay nicely. And some people didn't because they found it too tightly, so that all depends on how your bind off technique usually is for you, if it's tight or loose. For the bottom hem, you could either do a ribbing or an I-cord, which is recommended in the pattern. So my I-cord is usually tight, so I don't have a problem with flaring. A lot of testers didn't, and some did because their I-cord was looser, so to admit that, they went down a needle size and it solved the problem. Yes. The hem is a cabled hem, so cables usually have a cinching ability, so they cinch in a little bit compared to stockinette fabric. Not so much with these because they're not big cables, sorry, but a little bit, which is emitted by blocking, and that also helps it block out to the width of the I-cord if the I-cord flares just a little bit, so that is worth a try before redoing the I-cord if you find it flares a little bit. There's also a round of ribbing before the I-cord to help emit rolling, which helps a lot. And yeah, just little tweaks and details in the pattern to hopefully make it a nice and interesting detailed knit that is still simple and versatile. So, on that note, this is the Freyr Sweater, and I will move into my more regular podcast and show you what I have been working on this summer. So, first, I have some presents, or probably keep them myself. These are some straps for pacifiers. This is actually crochet and not knitting. In my holiday I was working on something that was a bit more portable and easy, So these are made of cotton blend yarns. I made more, but I gifted one to Matthias' sister, and Nellie has already run away with 2 of them. But the idea was to make a couple that were a bit shorter for the baby that is coming, and just to make some new ones because the microphone might run out of battery, so we'll see how it goes. But yeah, so I wanted to make some new ones. This is called a jasmine stitch, at least that's what it's called in the pattern that I used. And it's a very simple, elegant, but fun to make pattern. And I like these silicone rings for them to just attach them to the pacifiers because it's easy to take on and off for cleaning. I did try the regular crochet hoop that you attach to the pacifier, but I didn't really like the look of it. So I'm going to get more of these silicone rings to make more. And then I finished a blanket. This huge blanket is the nellike blanket. It is a free knitting pattern, and it creates these chevron, sort of chevron looking panels. And it's very easy. One side you knit, the other one you knit, but you also do some increases and decreases to make these shapes. And I was working on this last year, and I had 2 cakes of this ombre batik yarn that I bought in Turkey. And I wanted to use up both of the balls so that it starts with the dark pink and ends with the dark pink, and then it's light in the middle. And it turned out huge. So this is big enough to cover a single bed. And it's going to be for Nellie once she's a little bit bigger to have on her bed. Right now she's still in a crib. But that is the idea for this one. And it took a long time to knit. But I'm very happy that I have it. I have a smaller version that we use all the time in the summer for naps. So it's going to be good to have a bigger version. And then the next baby can use the small one and Nellie can use this one. And then I finished last night a shawl for me. This is the Sophie shawl by Peated. Very simple, very basic garter shawl with I-cord edging. And I wanted to finish it so that I can start another one that I am making as a gift for Christmas. And time is moving fast, so you know, gotta get around to it. This version is very soft. I knit this with Lang Cashmere Dreams Held Double. So it's not a thick shawl. It is probably smaller than the sample, even though I did the increases more rapidly because it is a thinner yarn. It isn't very wide. I also had 4 balls of this yarn, so I tried to use what I have, so I increased until I had used up almost half, and then I started decreases. I also skipped a couple of decreases, or decreased more rapidly, to avoid having the issue of running out of yarn, which I did with my last version. And in the end, I have just a little bit of yarn left. I'm happy with this. I'm sure I can find a use for this in some sort of future project. I highly recommend this yarn. It is cashmere, so it is not cheap, but it is gorgeous. And I made the scarf version in a burgundy color of this yarn, and that only used 2 balls, so half the price of this. And I used it a lot. It is, when I have like a congestion like this one and a sore throat, this is wonderful to just wrap around my neck. So I'm happy to have this done. It definitely needs several rinses because the black color bleeds a lot onto my hands when I was knitting with it. I'll probably try to use a little bit of vinegar to try and keep the color locked in. We'll see how it goes. And another thing, I did not knit this. My mom knit this. We both bought yarn to make something for Nelly, and she knit up the sorrel, which is a 28 stitch gauge pattern, so it was perfect for a fingering weight, and she managed to get a sweater out of it for Nelly with just one skein of this aime yarn, fingering weight, 420 meters. So this was a good pattern for a fingering weight skein, and maybe the hand-dyed is a little bit wasted on the garter and the stitch patterning, but I think it is still very pretty, very cute. Nelly picked the color, and now that I'm back home, I'm really starting to feel ready for all of my autumnal knits. I've picked some patterns out again, or my resting whips that I'm ready to get started with, and I have some of them in here. So this is scarf number 59 or 54, I think it's 59, by Biches, and this does not have a lot left to do, but for some reason I only feel like I want to knit on it in the fall, and I think it has to do with the very autumnal color palette in this scarf. This is a mohair yarn. It's going to be so delicious to wear now, so I really hope I find the time to finish it this fall so I can actually wear it. I have just this much yarn left, and I'll probably finish the scarf before I've used up the yarn, but I think I'm just going to keep going until I've used all of it, because it would be a shame to not use all of this beautiful yarn. And this is their thicker mohair base. So that is my plan. Plug away at this, use up all the yarn, and have a delicious full scarf. And then I also want to finish this cardigan. This is the quilt cushion pattern by Laura Penrose that I have added panels to turn into a cardigan. And I'm currently just knitting on the sleeves, and then it's going to be done. So you see I need to do a sleeve here, and I'm currently knitting on a sleeve here. This is going to be the back, and then I've crocheted an edge around just to tie the colors together in this beautiful shiny artistic yarn that I got on cones. Both of these yarn are coned yarns that are left over from clothes production, and I got it from I think it's Knit Shop Italy. I will put it below. And then I started working on this again. This I was knitting on in the winter spring. This is the Annie Raglan, which is a pattern from Rauma, and it is black, so it's hard to see, but I was feeling black after finishing my black shawl. We have some sunny mornings, and it's really nice to knit on in the mornings. This is a oversized top-down raglan sweater. It's knit in fivel, which is a loosely two-plied worsted weight yarn. I think it is a very toothy, woolly yarn, not in a scratchy way, but in like a dry way, and everything attaches to this. So it's not going to be one of those black chic sweaters, it's going to be one of those throw on for a comforting, warm, snuggly hug kind of sweaters. And I am doing the raglan increases now. They have these thick raglan panels running down, and it's going to be a split hem with a long ribbed border in the front and back, the back being longer. And I have a few more rounds of the increases to go, And I want to have this ready for big belly season along with my Freyr sweater, so definitely feeling the turtlenecks, getting ready for the cozy season. And then I've also been working on my blanket. I'm always working on a square garter fivel blanket. I attached several of these squares of different colors for Nelly, and it's her most used blanket. We use it for most of her naps outside when it's not summer, and I just love the look of it. The plan is to have a huge one for the couch, but I'm thinking of maybe doing a similar sized one as Nelly's for baby 2, and then at some point I can just attach those two and have a huge one. So that's something I might do. I am knitting on 3.75 millimeter needles, 30 stitches for 30 garter bumps, then binding off. And then how I join them is I crochet a border around them in a lighter color and then crochet them all together. And it's a fun, mindless, portable, long-term project. And I really love fivel from Rauma. They have so many colors, and it is just a very good workhouse warm yarn. So I love fivel. And I'm also wanting to finish the peated whisky cardigan. I haven't picked it up since we got back home, just because I was finishing up the other things. But the plan is to continue working on the body of this and hopefully have enough yarn to finish it off. This is the worsted weight yarn from Macausland Mill. It is it's either their 2-ply or the 3-ply, whichever is thicker of the two, in this gorgeous heathered brown color. Maybe you can see how pretty it is in the sunlight. But yeah, it's a gorgeous yarn. It's creating quite a stiff fabric. I have one sleeve done here. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to having this. It's going to be more of an outer layer for this fall winter if I finish it in time. And it's going to have pockets. So very excited about that. My phone is ringing. And then I also want to cast on a Sophie scarf in this beautiful yak cashmere mohair blend, which is going to be a gift for Christmas. And one last thing to show you. I forgot to show you 2 whips that I have been working on. I've almost finished a pair of socks. They only need the heels. So these are some simple top-down vanilla socks. I knit a cuff, then I knit a tube, then I knit a rounded toe, and then afterwards I put them on my feet to see sort of where my heel should start, and then I place knitting needles into those stitches, skip a row, and then place another needle. And I usually do 2 to 4 stitches more than what is half the amount of stitches, just to have a few more for the heel. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the stitch in the middle and unravel it almost until the end. I'm going to keep 1 or 2 stitches not unraveled because that avoids the holes on the sides, and then I'm going to do a wedged heel. So that is something that is almost done. This is the Harry Potter Book 3 yarn kit from Stripey Cat Yarns. Unfortunately, because I did such a long cuff, I don't have enough of the orange to do both heels, so I'm going to have to look through my stash and find a color that could work with this. So that's why they're not completely finished. But it's on my to-do list, and I have quite a bit left of the main color, so this can probably be used for another thing in the future. And then another whip in this gorgeous bag. This is from Unicat London. She's a one-woman business. She sews all her bags herself. And she also embroiders, so this has a beautiful little mushroom on it. I love these. And then she has a little embroidered pin on it, on a tweed fabric, and a cute little stone mushroom progress keeper. And in here I have my last whip. This is a cardigan. The pattern, hopefully, I have it on my phone here so I don't say the wrong thing. It's the Caramel Cardigan Delicate by Freyr. It's a free pattern, and I have finished the body. I'm knitting the 362 centimeter size, which is I think 3 months for a baby. I wanted to knit something small to actually fit the baby when it is small. And I have finished the body with the little ribbing, and I have almost finished the first front band. I had to redo this a couple of times to figure out a good amount of stitches to actually fit the front, to not have it cinched too much or too loose. I think I ended up with 66 stitches for this size. And I need to finish it, and then I need to do the other one, and then it's the sleeves, attach the buttons, and it's done. It is a broken rib. I find it very nice to knit, because one side you knit all the stitches and the other one is a knit one, purl one. So it's not as many purl stitches as a stockinette fabric, which I enjoyed. And the color is gorgeous. This is La Bien Aimée. Her fingering weight, 420 meters to 100 grams, and the color is Shire. I'm a huge Lord of the Rings and Hobbit fan, so very happy with the color name of this one. And I think it's going to be very cute in the end. So that is living in my very autumnal mushroom bag. And on that note, that was all of my knitting for this time. I might have rushed a little bit because of my sore throat, and also my microphone is going to run out of battery, so hopefully everything was okay with the sound quality, and next time I talk to you I hope to be back to a normal, non-congested state. Until then, I hope you're well. I'm hoping that you're making all the things that make you happy and that you're finding those little cozy moments. And please do check out my Freyr sweater. Even if you don't want to knit it, just checking it out will help. And crossing my fingers that it's well received. And I will talk to you soon. Bye!